Hi, Tracy Nutton here. Today I'm going to be making a bookmark for yourself, so something a little bit different. But with this technique, once you've seen how it's done, you can easily convert it into a card or a tag, whatever you'd like. So today I'm going to be using a range of Sweet Poppy Stencils products. I'm going to use the Duo Birds and the Aperture Maple Leaf. The card that I'm going to be using today is a 300 GSM Super Smooth. It's 2 inches wide and it's about 11.5 inches long, which is just the length of an A4 piece of card. I haven't cut it down yet and you'll see why in a while. I'm going to use my Distress Inks, Carved Pumpkin, Rusty Hinge, Barn Door and Gathered Twigs. For the birds, I'm going to use the VersaFine Claire Nocturne. It's really lovely ink. And then for the background, I'm going to use a range of brushes. I'm going to use yellow ochre, lemon, yellow and orange. I've got some brushes to apply my ink with, some chunky ones and some finer detail ones, some polychromos pencils to make the leaves pop and the birds look more 3D. So let's move these off and let's get going. To create the tag on the end, just thought I'd let you know, I bought a tag maker. It takes up to 2.5 inches card, so I used that for the black background. You just pop it into the end, give it a push, and then it gives you that lovely detailing on the end. But again, because it's a bookmark, it doesn't have to be fancy. You could just use a regular rectangular shaped black back card, but just in case you were wondering, that's what I've used. So let's get going. I'm going to start with my brushes, create my background. So tap in some orange, get some lemon in there, a little tap of yellow and some yellow ochre. It gives you just got a bit of a few different colours in there. What I did before, when I first got my brushes, I created a little swatch pad. So the yellow ochre's kind of got some blues in it, some oranges, yellows, which is really nice because when you look at the orange, they complement each other, and then the yellow, the lemon, just is even more lighter. The lemon's lovely. There you go. The lemon doesn't have any other colour in it, so it's really lovely. Brushes, when spritzed with water, separate into the colours that make them all up. So you might think, oh, it's just an orange is an orange, but actually when you spritz it with water, you could get lots of different colours in it, which is really nice. So spritz card. Taking our card, I'm going to hold one side up so that the ink is just on one edge. It's a technique where you just need to squish your card and move it along. Oh, that's pretty. Everyone's different. You probably never get the same look twice. Oh, I quite like that though, so I'm going to leave that there. You can go over as little or as much as you would like. You can probably usually get 2 out of a design, or 2 out of one go of putting your brushes down, but again, they'll be very, very different. You can see that's very different. So what I would usually do now is spritz it, is dry it with a heat gun, sorry, but I actually have some backgrounds that I made earlier, so I will leave those to dry and I'll show you some background. So in fact, I've been quite busy today, so I've got a few to choose from. I think I might go with that one, quite like that. So let's tidy up our area. Brushes go everywhere. They're really good fun to use, but they do go everywhere, so have to make sure that you clean them up thoroughly. Otherwise they will go on to the work that you've got. Don't want it to ruin all your hard work. So see, they're everywhere. Give that a quick dry. So let's grab our magnetic sheet, and the first stencil that I'm going to use is the Aperture Maple Leaf. I'm going to put that at an angle and just see where I'd like it. So as long as the maple leaf is on this edge, doesn't matter which angle that you go for. I'm going to just use some masking tape to cover the edge. What I don't want to do is be doing this and then forget that I've gone over that edge and then ruin my work. So for this I'm going to use the Distress inks. I will start with the orange. Let's bring my brushes in. Don't need that one yet. Okay. So I will start with an orange. Obviously our background is orange, and so I'm just feeling to see if that's dry. I think it might be okay. So my background is orange, so I'll start with that. Nice little bit of kitchen towel so that I can just dab off any excess, and then gentle circular motions just to build up the colour. On the original one that I did, I just did lots of oranges and made it really orangey, but today I'm going for a more autumnal feel, so I'm going to add in some browns and some reds. Nice and gently building up some colour. Again, circular motions. Then I'm going to go in with some red for the tips of our leaves. Once you've flooded the card with ink, you'll see that the colours blend better and start moving around. So don't worry if you get some brush lines. By the time you've built up, you know, your orange, then your red, then your browns, you'll start to see that the ink moves easier. So this edge I would like to be brown. Sorry, my bracelet's making a terrible noise. And then I'm going to go in with the gathered twigs right on that edge, just to give it a really nice dark edge. Back in with my orange just to blend all of those colours together, and then I'm going to move down the card. So although I'm doing the whole of this, I will end up cutting some of it off, but it's easier to do the whole thing and then decide which you like, which part you don't, so you can cut off the end that you're not so happy with. If I was to cut it down now, if there was a bit that I wasn't happy with, I don't have any scope to change it. So we don't want those to overlap, so I was just making sure that there was enough space. Covering again that edge to make sure that I don't ruin my work. So start with the orange. Then we go in with the red. So as you can see, it's quite a quick technique. There isn't a right or a wrong. You could do the leaves any colour you wanted, depending on the feel or the season that you were trying to create. Then we go back in with our brown, rusty hinge, and then finally down that edge again with the gathered twigs. Finally back in with the orange, blend it all together. And then finally down to this last part. So I want to make sure my leaves are slightly different. So let's go there. got a bit of a horrible cough and a cold today, so I do apologise if I start coughing. I might have to stop and have a drink, so I do apologise. I can feel it become tickly again, but we'll see how far we get. Right, where are we going? We're going with the reds next. Red on the edge. I love this barn door. It really is beautiful and works really well with the oranges and the browns, and it's a lovely colour. Then brown rusty hinge. And then finally your gathered twigs along that edge. And blend all in again with the orange. So that's the Distress inks finished with. And hopefully I should have quite a nice looking background. So the next part, as you can see, we're going to add our birds. So you can add your birds towards the top, towards the bottom, but I kind of liked them in the middle, so it gives it a really nice focal point. So we just need to decide where we would like our birds. That's why I liked the white space in here. So let's pop this on. At some point I need to take, see, I'm not a fan of this top part here, but I quite like the bottom here, so I might just move it up a little bit more, knowing that I'll take some off the top. I want my birds this way round, I think. Okay, right, your birds need to be sort of in the centre here. The foliage itself, it doesn't matter if it is hanging off the edge, as long as you've got the whole of your birds on, it should be fine. Just going to move that down a little bit, I think. Okay, there we go. Then make sure that you just mask off the top and the bottom, just to make sure that you don't go over the edges and end up with colour that you don't want. There we go. So in order for me to apply the black now onto this, I'm just going to twist this actually, so that it's all on. There we go. Just making sure, make sure that your stencil is on the magnetic sheet. That's what I was just adjusting, so it didn't hang off the edge, because otherwise I'll end up with some bleeding underneath. So when I'm putting colour over colour, so obviously I need to build up enough coverage to cover this dark orange leaf underneath that you can see. So the way in which I like to do that is to use a sponge first. I don't push down with this sponge, but it's just a gentle tap and twist, and I feel like it's the easiest way to get a really nice base on the stencil. We need to make these birds really dark because of that dark reddy orange. It's going to take quite a bit of black to cover it, otherwise you'll see the leaf through it and then it just won't look as nice. If you get a really good dark crisp finish on your image, it just makes it look neater and crisper, and generally better all round. So between this, I'm now going to sort of slow down a little bit, because I don't want the ink to be pushed underneath, but also I want to make sure that every time I'm applying the sponge or the colour with the sponge or the brush, that I'm not pushing it on and taking it off. So I'm giving it time to soak into the card before I go back to that area. Gentle twists, not pushing, just gentle twists, and then you can go in and kind of wiggle it around a bit, but gently. You just don't want to risk pushing that ink underneath. So just go into a bit more coverage on the birds, and then I can swap over to my brush. So when coming in with the brush, I'm not going to dip it into the ink, I'm going to use what's already on there and encourage that through the stencil. because again, if we overload it, it will just push it through and then it will just bleed everywhere. This stencil's quite fine, so I probably won't worry too much forcing to try and get these parts covered, but you could easily go over those with a fine marker or a fine liner. I think I've got a Pigma Micron 05. The only thing you need to make sure you do is make sure this ink is actually dry before you go over it, because all that happens is your pen stops working and you don't want that to happen. Right, I can still see the orange there, so just gently tap a little bit more, gently, and then let that dry. And then I'm going to pull that off and have a little look and see. And also give it a quick blast with the heat gun, so that if I do need to use my Micron pen, that's also okay. So remove that. Gently remove this. So because I haven't gone over and over and over, I don't have any bleeding. So that's exactly what I wanted. Give it a quick blast. Because we've put ink on here, the card is quite wet. So trying to apply pencil or even the Micron pen over the top won't work quite as well. So just taking the time to make sure that this is dry is worth it. I'm twisting it both ways because when I do it one way it curls, so if I do it the other way as well, it just encourages it to stay flat. Okay, right now I'm going to come in to do some close work, so let me move a little bit closer for you. So to finish this bookmark off, I'm going to try and bring out those leaves and make them look a little bit more 3D. So if you have a little look what I did here, I've used a darker colour and then a lighter one just to make them pop a little bit. So I'm going to start with brown. Top tip, really sharp pencil. So makes it a little bit easier. If you have a really nice sharp pencil. So not everybody's confident in adding shading and stuff, but if you imagine that the sun is shining from the top down, anything underneath the light wouldn't be able to get to. So that's where I'm going to go in with my dark brown pencil, turning it to the side to make it a little bit easier for me. Thinking about your natural move is in that direction, so that completely goes the wrong way, whereas this now is the right way. So I want to add the dark to this underside. There we go. So you will see me move my card to help me create those shapes and that shading. Not everybody has a really steady hand, so move the card to suit you. Just working your way as you go up, starting with the dark brown. Keep going. Just makes the leaves pop. Just adds a bit more interest as well. So then I'm going to go in with the light grey. Oh, missed a bit. The light grey, just, I can't explain it if I show you, just gives that extra shadow and shade to make it pop even more. So if I just went in with the dark, that's fine, but that lighter shade of grey just makes it look more 3D. Let's do this bit down here. And just take your time for this part. Now I'm doing the leaves first, and then I will go and do the birds and the leaves from the bird stencil. Just going around and around. I still think that part I'm going to chop off, so I'm not worried about adding too much colour onto that. Okay, then the same with the dark grey. The dark grey I'm going to use on the birds because the birds are black, so I won't use the brown. Then I'm just going to do exactly the same as I would have done before, taking the darker edge just to create that shadow. Go under the chin. Apologies. It's that time of year when everybody starts getting winter coughs and colds, and I've got one, unfortunately. So I'm just going to grab a drink. I do apologise. Hopefully that will stop me from having a coughing fit. If you go over, which I have, probably because I'm coughing and I'm just a little bit, just go in with soft rubber, just a standard rubber, just gently rub it out, go in again. If you keep into the bird, then the shadow works much better. Okay, again, going back in with a lighter grey, just taking it out a little bit further. Makes it look a bit more 3D. You can do the same for the leaves. Right, and that is it. So there you have your bookmark. I just want to go in a bit more there. So what you need to do now is have a little look at the length of your bookmark. So if I put my bookmark on here, if I put it this way, so you can see that this is too long, and I really like that. So this is the part that we're going to chop off. So the easiest way for me to work out where it needs to be cut is look at your borders. Try and get your borders the same width around, and then when you come down this way, I can see roughly that that is where I need to cut. So then you grab your guillotine. Give it a quick trim. The easiest way to attach this is to use a wet glue, I think. So let's grab my wet glue. It doesn't matter whose you use. Just gives you a little wiggle room, but also because it's a bookmark, you want to make sure that it's secure. So just wiggle it around the edges. You can change the colourways to suit, you know, the effect that you're looking for. Experiment, have a little look. You know, if you like your blues and your purples, go for it. Fine. When I offer this up to here, I'm not going to push down. I'm just literally just holding it in there and then allowing that to wriggle down gently. Placing it down, then flip it over, because if I rub up and down on my work, I have a chance of smudging all of that hard work, whereas you can't smudge the back. So let's have a look. So as you can see, there's the finished bookmark. So again, it doesn't matter which colourway. In fact, I've been busy today. I've got quite a few, so I can use these as thank you gifts as well. But they're quick, they're simple. You could add a lovely sentiment. In fact, a sentiment there embossed in gold or black would be beautiful, but it's up to you. So I will leave this with you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this has inspired you to give it a go. As I say, if you prefer to make a card, then just extend the maple leaf out, add a sentiment this side. I'd love to see what you do anyway, but thank you for joining me and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.